Hello, and welcome to Kai Chi Alchemy. You can call me Katchi. This is a space of love, y'all. Welcome or welcome back. Today we are going to be reading a chapter from the Ringing Cedars of Russia series. But before we get into that, I was just going to pull a card real quick from the Banned Books tarot deck. I actually just, that came out very intense, very right away. I don't think I'm gonna keep it, but interesting. Goosebumps by R.L. Stine, 9 of Pens. Wasn't Goosebumps like a whole series? Let me know down in the comments if you know anything about that. Maybe I'll look it up in the guidebook later. Interesting. 9 of Pens also. There might be a lot going on in the world right now, or just with you, perhaps. Freya, Folly, Michael, Mary, please be here with me now. Please allow me to see. To Kill a Mockingbird, Harper Lee, Knight of Paper. Okay, so I am gonna look up the guidebook for this one. And under that is 9 of Paper. Funny. Sounds real similar. Slightly different meanings there. So the 9 of Paper is, oh sorry, the Knight of Paper. Okay, well the Knight of Paper in this deck is Coraline, so that may be some kind of like confirmation for you or something like that. But in any case, we've got Knight of Paper. To Kill a Mockingbird. Steady and dependable, the Knight of Paper has no problem maintaining focus and putting in the work when the stakes are high. Channel your inner Atticus Finch and embrace that noble persistence. Banned for themes of racial injustice and grape, To Kill a Mockingbird offers a compelling and invaluable lesson in overcoming prejudice and seeking truth. Yeah, so we started with 9 of Pens, which is 9 of Swords, which can be a very challenging energy. And then this Knight of Paper is like, you know, you have to stay persistent even when things look really ugly. If you wanna succeed and survive the high stakes, right? In this deck, Paper is Pentacles. It says the suit of paper represents material things, money, and health, as well as the element of earth. It carries a grounding feminine energy and calls you to focus on intentional growth. The signs court cards can characterize the earth signs of the zodiac: Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. So there may be some sort of significance to Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn for you if you follow things astrologically. Knight of Paper, To Kill a Mockingbird, Harper Lee, also was published in 1960. So there is this energy of great injustice and great struggle and like mental anguish and issues, but the persistence to stay grounded and put one foot in front of the other and address those challenges in whatever way you can, which is definitely like a personal theme to you in some way, but also if you're watching this in real time is quite globally appropriate as well. Also, I see 2 of Pens on the bottom here, Catch-22, Joseph Heller. And I didn't see this fall down earlier, so this could be of relevance to you. And Two of Pens is kind of like the choice. I'm getting that book, The Choice, by Edith something. I'll have to put it up on the community tab maybe. But it's about a survivor of the Holocaust, basically, and the mental framework that she lives her life by, and what she learned and how she applies that to her struggles and to her day-to-day life, and how she advises others to do the same. Having had experienced very extreme challenges, you know. So we got that for anybody that is interested in the confirmations. And then today we're gonna get back into, we're about halfway through the Anastasia chapters. This is chapter 15, and it's called Attentiveness to Man. It's about 6 pages, so it will be not the shortest, but not the longest. I definitely recommend grabbing your knitting or your tea or whatever. Excuse me. Attentiveness to Man. 6:33 on the clock. I asked Anastasia who taught her to speak and converse, since she had almost no memory of her father and mother, and her grandfather and great-grandfather talked with her only rarely. The answers she gave were quite a shock to me and required interpretation by specialists, and so I shall try to reproduce them as fully as I can. Their meaning has gradually begun to sink in. She responded to my first question with a question of her own. Do you mean the ability to speak in different people's languages? How do you mean different? What, you can speak more than one language? Yes, she replied. Including German, French, English, Japanese, Chinese? Yes, she repeated, and then added, you can see I speak your language. You mean Russian? Well, that puts it too generally. I speak, or at least try to speak, using words and phrases you yourself use when you talk. At first it was a little challenging for me since your vocabulary is not very large and you repeat yourself a fair amount. Nor do you have much expression of feeling. That is not the kind of language which easily lends itself to accurately saying everything one wishes to say. Wait, Anastasia. I'm going to ask you something in a foreign language, and you give me an answer. I said hello to her in English, and then in French. She answered me right off. Unfortunately, I myself have not mastered any foreign language. In school I studied German, but with rather poor marks. I did remember one whole sentence in German, which my schoolmates and I learnt by rote. I recited it to Anastasia. Ich liebe dich und gib mir die Hand. She extended her hand to me and answered in German, I give you my hand. Amazed by what I had heard and still not believing my ears, I asked, so then, any person can be taught all languages? I had an intuitive feeling that there must be some kind of simple explanation for this extraordinary phenomenon, and I had to know what it was so I could tell others about it. Anastasia, so have a go at it. Explain this in my language and try to do it with examples so that I can understand. I asked somewhat excitedly. All right, only calm down and let go, or you will not understand. But let me first teach you to write in Russian. I know how to write. You tell me about learning foreign languages. I do not mean just handwriting. I shall teach you to be a writer, a very talented writer. You shall write a book. That's impossible. It is possible. It is quite simple. Anastasia took a stick and outlined on the ground the whole Russian alphabet, along with the punctuation marks, and asked me how many letters there were. 33, I replied. You see, that is a very small number of letters. Can you call what I have outlined a book? No, I answered. It's just an ordinary alphabet, that's all. Ordinary letters. Yet all books in the Russian language are made up of these ordinary letters, Anastasia observed. Do you not agree? Do you not see how simple it all is? Yes, but in books they're arranged differently. Correct. All books consist of a multitude of combinations of these letters. People arrange them on the pages automatically, guided by their feelings. And from this it follows that books originate not from a combination of letters and sounds, but from feelings outlined by people's imagination. The result is that the readers are aroused by approximately the same feelings as the writers, and such feelings can be recalled for a long time. Can you recollect any images or situations from books you have read? Yes, I can, I replied after a moment's thought. For some reason, I recalled Lermontov's Hero of Our Time and began to tell the story to Anastasia. She interrupted me. You see, you can still depict the characters from this book and tell me what they felt, even though quite a bit of time has gone by since you read it. But if I were to ask you to tell me in what sequence in the 33 letters of the Russian alphabet were set forth in that book, what combinations they were arranged in, could you do that? No, that would be impossible. Indeed, it would be very difficult. So, feelings have been conveyed from one man to another with the help of all sorts of combinations of these 33 letters. You looked at these combinations of letters and forgot them right off, but the feelings and images remained to be remembered for a long time. So it turns out that if you link emotional feelings directly to these marks on paper without thinking about any conventions, one's soul will cause these marks to appear in just the right sequence and combinations so that any reader may subsequently feel the soul of the writer. And if in the soul of the writer... Wait, Anastasia, put it more simply, more clearly, more specifically. Show me through some kind of an example how languages are to be learnt. You can make me into a writer later on. Come on, tell me first. Who taught you to understand different languages, and how? My great-grandfather, replied Anastasia. Give me an example, I kept insisting, anxious to understand everything in a hurry. All right, but do not be concerned. I shall still find a way to help you understand, and if it is that important to you, I shall try teaching all the languages to you too. It is simple after all. For us, it is quite incredible, Anastasia. So do try to explain and tell me, how much time would it take to teach me? She thought for a moment as she looked at me and then said, Your memory is no longer very good, and then there are your domestic problems. You will need a lot of time. How long? I was impatient for an answer. For everyday comprehension of phrases such as hello and goodbye, I would say it would take at least 4 months, possibly 6, she replied. Enough, Anastasia. Tell me how your great-grandfather did it. He played with me. How did he play? Tell me. Calm down, take it easy. I cannot understand why you are so impatient. And then she quietly went on. Great-grandfather played with me as though he were joking with me. Whenever he came to me all by himself without grandfather, he would always approach me, bow at the waist, and hold out his hand to me, and I would hold out mine to him. He would first shake my hand and then get down on one knee, kiss my hand, and say, "Hello, Anastasia." One time he came, he did everything as usual. His eyes looked at me as tenderly as usual, but his lips were saying some kind of abracadabra. I looked at him in surprise, and he said something else quite equally unintelligible. I could not take it any longer and asked, "Grandpakins, have you forgotten what to say?" "Yes, I have," great-grandfather answered. Then he stepped away from me a few paces, stopped to think about something, and came over to me again, extending his hand to me, and I held out mine to him. He dropped on one knee and kissed my hand. His look was gentle, his lips were moving, but no sound was coming out at all. I was even a bit afraid. Then I decided a reminder might help. "Hello, Anastasia," I hinted. "Correct," great-grandfather confirmed with a smile. At that point, I realized it was a game. He and I would often play this game together after that. At first, it was quite simple, but then the game became more complicated and more fascinating. It is a game that begins when one is 3 years old and goes until the age of 11, when one undergoes a kind of test. This involves looking attentively at the person you are talking with and being able to understand what they are saying, no matter what language they are expressing it in. This kind of dialogue is far superior to speech. It is more rapid and conveys far more information. You would call it thought transfer. You think it is abnormal, something out of fantasy, but it is simply an attentive attitude toward man, drawing upon a developed imagination and a good memory. It involves not just a more efficient method of information exchange, but getting to know a person's soul, along with the animal and plant world and what constitutes creation as a whole. "Anastasia," I said, "what can plants growing in a garden plot possibly have to do with this? What is their role in all this?" "What do you mean? What do they have to do with it?" "At the same time as the child is getting to know the world of plants as a part of the functioning of the universe, he is also entering into contact with his planets. With their help and the help of his parents, he quickly, very quickly, gets to know the truth and develops intensively in the fields of psychology, philosophy, and the natural sciences, your disciplines. But if the game is played using some kind of man-made object from the artificial world as an example, the child will become lost. He will not receive any assistance from the powers of nature or the universe." I have already noted, Anastasia, that in the final analysis, such a child could become an agronomist. Now, where would his knowledge come from in other areas? But Anastasia maintained that a man raised in such a manner would show an aptitude for quick learning in any of our scholarly disciplines. The end. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next time. Love, light, peace, and personal responsibility.